What is going on, everybody? Welcome back for episode 2 of the Progeny of Gaming podcast. I'm Sean. Thank you for joining me. Before we get into it, I want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So, for the foreseeable future, if you have been watching my Let's Plays, I am going to be either reducing or putting them on hold for the time being. That's on my YouTube channel, Blood Wolf Reaper. Just with my day job, along with being a dad, and then just a bunch of other stuff that's been going on right now, I'm not able to commit to that as much as I am to the things that I need to commit to. So I'm not. It's just taking a back burner. We will be back at some point once I can figure out proper scheduling and whatnot. Just for the time being, I will keep you all posted on when that starts running again. And then as far as this podcast goes, for the time being, we are still going to be doing this podcast. It's not all that difficult to do just going off of the first episode, a roughly 30-minute podcast one day a week. So this, for the foreseeable future, will keep going. At the very least, I'm gonna see what the numbers look like. No matter what, I'm going to keep streaming. I'm gonna stream games. If this podcast picks up, I will continue streaming the podcast. So as my online presence, I'm not going anywhere. I'll just be on a little less than what I already am. Or who knows, maybe I'll switch from uploading gameplay videos and stream more often, just because it's a little less it requires a little bit less of my time, I guess, just at least the way I do it, as opposed to uploading the games to YouTube. But I'm rambling on. That's pretty much going to do it. So we're going to get into the topic of this video, which is crunch, otherwise known as not really obligatory overtime, I guess would be a nice way of putting it. In the gaming industry, it is egregious, to say the least. And it's been it's been a huge topic, especially over the last couple of years, with companies like Epic Games, Treyarch. Let me see. I've actually got a list right here. I'm not going to name them all. NetherRealm, and this list comes from Digital Trends. NetherRealm, Epic Games, the late Telltale Games. So it's a very common issue that we know of. Unsurprisingly, it is not all that uncommon here in America. And I guess the catalyst, I was going to do a video on crunch at some point anyway, just because I myself have gotten a little taste of crunch in the gaming industry, even though I have not worked for an actual gaming company before. I did go to college. I got a degree to make games, and the way the finals courses, I think it was the last 3 months, which is usually 3 to 6 months is usually where the crunch tends to take place in the gaming industry. The last 3 months of my course, they purposefully set it up so that you were crunching, so that they could prepare you for the inevitable, and that's just not right. But the main reason now is that CD Projekt Red last week actually said they were going to make 6-day weeks ahead of the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 mandatory. Now, this means that their employees will be working around 100 plus hours a week up until the November release of the game. Let me see. November 10th, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm pretty sure I am, because that game is on my list of games I want to play. Yeah. So, the biggest reason why this is such a shock is because not that long ago, CD Projekt Red came out and said that they were against crunch. They did not want to do it. They were focused on their employees. They wanted to treat them like people, have a more humane place to work for their employees. Excuse me, I just need some water. So obviously it came as a shock when this came out the 29th of September. So let's see. Yeah, pretty much 40 plus days before my math's a little off right now. It's been a long day. But 40 plus days before the launch of the game, that's it. You all have to crunch. Basically, tell your family they're not going to be seeing much of you for the next month and a half, because that's what crunch is. It's, we expect you to drop anything that's in your personal life and focus on this. Focus on this product. Focus on your work life. And in a lot of cases, it's to the point where some of them are working 7 days a week. Some of them are putting in, like I said, more than 100 hours. And some of them just bring cots or sleeping bags to work, and they sleep under their desks. I myself have heard first-account stories of people who have been in the industry, where they've said, yeah, it was crunch the last 2 months or so of development, and I slept under my desk. And the time I wasn't working, now the guys I spoke to were productive. The times they weren't working, they worked on learning programming and whatnot, coding, and or they brushed up in skills they weren't entirely proficient in, which brings me to a point of why crunch is kind of a iffy subject, because in a corporate structure, Do you want to be the guy who goes home right at 5 every day? Or do you want to be, or let me rephrase that. Do you want to be the guy who's in at 9 and out at 5 every day? Or do you want to be the guy who's in, say, at 8 and is the last one to leave? When you're the boss and you see this, which of those two people are you going to pick for a promotion? Or who are you going to pick to lead the next big project? You're going to pick the guy who's putting in more work. And all the employees know this. If you've been following even some of these stories for the last couple of years, you know there's a lot of people who see even not just their boss. Sometimes it's their team lead or even just a guy who's in the same position. They see them, the guy will get up to leave and go home, and they see their boss is still working. It doesn't even look like he's anywhere near getting ready to go home. And at that moment, you have really one thing that goes through your mind, and it comes down to, I'm not working hard enough. And unfortunately, even when the higher-ups, let's say, don't intend for that to be the thought process for their employees, when you work in a place that has such strict, not just a place, a industry that has such strict deadlines. And I know over the last 2 years, delays have become fairly common. I mean, we've seen numerous games get delayed. And unfortunately, I think delays just hammer home the point to the developer that they need to, and I'm not saying they need to, but in their minds, they feel they need to work longer hours, work harder. And unfortunately, it's not just the higher-ups that cause this issue. It is mainly on them, but it also falls on the consumers as well, because, and bear with me here, gamers are, without making it sound like a gross term, gamers are spoiled. I mean, just this year alone, with everything that's going on, look at all the amazing games that have come out. Some of them have actually been delayed numerous times. And if you think about it, these games that have been delayed, that means they ran into an issue, and not somebody, but somebody's, teams of people had to sit down and say, all right, we need to get this thing back on track, and that's going to mean more man hours. And it all comes down to not just wanting to please. I mean, there's a want to please the consumer, but there's also shareholders who look at consumer trends, and when they see all of us, the consumers, hyped for this game, they obviously, I mean, who wouldn't want to? They want to cash in on that. And everybody knows gamers can be pretty fickle. If a game gets delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, you're going to start wondering, is this game worth my time? And the shareholders, the developers, the publishers, they all know this. So instead of delaying Cyberpunk 2077 again, they have said, look, we need you guys to put in 6-day a week work weeks. Now, it's not just that. They also look at, it's not just from the like I said, it's not just from the consumer standpoint. It's not just shareholders. They also look at the fact that these guys have been working on this game for years, and to keep pushing it back, while is a relief, it's also kind of a mental blow that it's not over. It's you. How best should I put this? It's you love the game, but you just want it to be over. 3, 4, 5 years into the development cycle, these guys have played the game over and over again, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're sick of the game, but they have I mentioned it already, they have a want to get you, the consumer, this game. And the more they're working on it, the longer it will take for them to see an actual visual gratification for this thing they've been working on. Because until they release it, the only gratification they get is from the fans saying, hey, keep up the good work, can't wait to see it. Or from the, not even really the beta testers, I would think. I mean, I'm sure they get positive feedback, but there is also a bunch of negative feedback from those beta testers. So really, the only time a developer can really feel good about the game is after it's done. And I use that in loose terms. I definitely loved working on some of the projects I did in school. I would love it if I was working at a game company. I'm not even gonna. I was gonna say I'd love to work at a smaller one, because these larger companies are rife with issues, but that's an issue for another video. But yeah, if you are in the games industry, 9 out of 10 chance you love what you're doing, because why else do it? But the thrill a developer is looking for is at the end, when that game is finally in the consumer's hands and they see all the positive comments, the videos that go up, even the bad ones sometimes, because they are finally, well, I wouldn't say done with the game, because games don't always get released complete nowadays, but the game is out there. It's like you finally get to share this secret that has been eating at you for a long time. Or at least that's the way I see it. So, in a somewhat long roundabout way, I guess I have argued, I'd say not enough as to why crunch is bad. I put out some points why it's good. It feels weird saying crunch is good because it's not good for your mental health. It can be very detrimental to your mental health. Even, it doesn't matter the environment you're working in. Working for they say even just a normal 40-hour week can be detrimental to your mental health. But we do it anyway because we have to. Crunch isn't a necessity. It I don't know if you'd call it in some eyes it could be considered a necessary evil. I think I'll put it that way. Will crunch ever go away? I hope so. It sucks when you see or when you hear stories come out about the not horrid work conditions, but just the depression and the it's not good. It isn't, and I think there's a reason why the only quote unquote good points I could bring up was that it's over. You don't have to keep in a way keep this bottled up anymore. There's and one point I did forget to mention is this not being an American company, they are getting compensated for all the overtime that they are giving to get this game done. That is not something you would see, at least not normally, over here in the States. Which is why it is a huge issue over here in the States. Well, not the only reason, but it is definitely one of the bigger reasons, is you have these employees working, I don't know if I'd say mandatory, because it's not, I don't know if anyone's ever explicitly come out and said mandatory overtime, because, optics. But there's definitely that culture that that unsaid. It's an unsaid word. We're not saying it's mandatory, but it's in your best interest. That's kind of how it is over here, at least. And like I said, I really hope crunch is something we look back at and think, oh, that was a crappy thing, but thank God that's no longer, thank God that's no longer something that happens. I'm not even gonna sit here and think of ways that could happen, things that we could do to make that happen, because ultimately it doesn't come down on us, and I personally don't know enough to turn that into a discussion. I have nothing but praise. Well, I wouldn't say nothing but I've got to give praise to CD Projekt Red. That we know of, this is a very rare occurrence. They have been, as I said, they have been outspoken on not wanting to crunch. And it's one thing to not want to do something, and it's another to feel you have to do something. And we could talk back and forth about whether or not they needed to crunch. But it's happened. It's happening. And like I said, the only good things I can say is this game will be done. They can breathe a sigh of relief. They can see the happiness this game brings their fans. They are getting compensated. Granted, that's more of a government thing. I don't know if it wasn't, if we'd be looking at this in a more negative light. But then again, with how CD Projekt Red has the stance they've taken on crunch, they could have compensated their employees for the overtime, regardless, if it wasn't a government thing. But then we just get into talking hypotheticals, and I don't think it's right to do that. I've got to congratulate the developers. I want to say it was yesterday. Give me just 1 second. I want to double check, because this is a very important. It's very important. Yes, October 5th. Cyberpunk 2077 has gone gold. So that means that the game is in whatever state it's going to be in when the consumer gets it. It's being printed onto discs. And the crunch from here to launch is basically what's going to be in the day one patch. That's something us gamers are used to. Our games being launched with day one patches. Right now, they are fine-tuning things, squashing bugs, you name it. But it is officially out of their hands, and they can, like I said, they can breathe a sigh of relief. And I just want to say congratulations. I know this has been a long time coming for them. The game's been delayed many times, and I know that can't. Having to hear that the game is getting delayed can't be something easy to hear. So good job, congratulations, good on them. I cannot wait for this game to come out. I don't know if I'm going to get to play it day one or if I'm going to have to wait a little while, but I am definitely looking forward to this game. I'm going to before I start rambling anymore, I'm gonna end things here. I really like having this platform to just ramble on for 20-30 minutes here and there. I'm going to try and work on keeping my thoughts a little more streamlined and not all over the place, or at least I feel like that's how this video and the last video kind of went. And the last video I actually had bullet points. Granted, this video I had various little snippets of information sitting up on my my screen here. But I'm going to grow as this podcast grows, and I'm going to figure things out as I go. And I hope that you guys and many more people join me for that, for this journey that I now find myself on. And I hope in the days to come, I look at these episodes and I can see me doing this for years to come. But without further ado, if you are watching this later on YouTube, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. If you want to make sure that I see your comments, concerns, questions, or corrections, tweet at me at BloodWolfReaper. I am more likely to get any feedback on my Twitter than I am in the comments. It's not that I don't read the comments. I'm on Twitter more often than I am on YouTube, which is saying something. For the time being, I will have, like I said, I'm going to reduce the amount of content on my Blood Wolf Reaper YouTube channel. For the time being, I don't see myself stopping completely. If anything, and I can't confirm this just yet, if anything, I'll just pivot to something else. I haven't figured out all the details, so I won't necessarily say what, but for now, I will still be releasing gameplay videos. And I think that's about it. I want to thank you for joining me for this video, and I hope you can all join me in the next one.